Hello, and you're very welcome to a Treaty Talk special here with Tom Clancy, and I'm joined by one of the most prominent referees in Limerick, Mr. Donnacha O'Callaghan, who's here to discuss the ins and outs of the current refereeing, especially in the towards the game of hurling, and indeed to look ahead to Limerick's game against Clare with some of the new rules and some of the more recent rules that have come into effect in hurling in recent years and indeed recent weeks. Donnacha, how's things with you these days?
We're all good now, Tom. Busy. League game starting under 20 and minor between in Munster between hurling and football. So yeah, we're keeping going, thank God. It's
Yeah.
the sign of the summer, the matches are back.
The matches are back. The pitches are starting to dry out. We've had plenty of postponements around Limerick, but hopefully those are to their end now, and we can get a clean run of it. So just looking ahead to Clare and Limerick on Sunday, and obviously we'll speak maybe more about that game in particular in itself. But just with regards to inter-county hurling, we've had plenty of rule changes in football in the last decade. We've had probably not as many in hurling, but there has been some significant ones. I think it's fair to say in recent years. If we could look at some of those, the new rules, a couple of them passed the Congress recently. The one that jumps out to me in terms of a Limerick point of view is the helmet removal. I think it might have been our good friends on Lee's side who proposed that. Might have been aimed at Limerick. We don't know. They don't have to say, but it's one that if you recall, the Limerick and Kilkenny match came up. William O'Donoghue was forced to leave the field of play for he took off his Under Armour.
Yeah.
And we've had other incidents with involving other counties, of course, as well, with players who've maybe got a slap on the wrist or the leg, and off has come the helmet, and the player has left the field of play. So, can you tell me a bit about that, the logic behind it, and how it's to be implemented by the referee?
Well, I suppose the logic behind it is that they're trying to probably stop the time wasting, I suppose. And I suppose you're saying the Lee siders, I suppose it's probably aimed a lot at Nicky and
Who's
he's
who's contact lenses?
his contact lenses. Yeah. But look, I suppose what they're saying about it is, for any reason, if the helmet comes off, the player has to leave the field to play. He then can't come in until the next break and play from the halfway line. So it'll either be through the fourth official or the umpire or the linesman on the far side. With regards to injuries, I suppose it's a bigger one, Tom, because they're saying if play is stopped at any time for a player to be treated, that player has to leave the field to play also, and he cannot come in till the next break and play. So you will see, I presume, in us a few times on Sunday, teams will go down to 14 men because that player, if he's been stopped, if play has been stopped for him to be treated, he will have to leave the field to play. Now, it does say he has to come on through the halfway line in the next break and play. If the player comes on without waiting for the next break and play, it's deemed as challenging the authority of a match official, which is a yellow card. Um, so unfortunately, if a player is already on a yellow, it's a second yellow, he'll be sent off. But I suppose it's a new rule. Players will have to give officials times too a time as well, and they'll have to go rowing with it. Because it's a cheap yellow card to get. And look, you don't want lads next Sunday in the Cut and Trusted Championship picking up a silly yellow card for something like that.
Yeah, the example that I would think with that could prove problematic, and just to use it from a Limerick point of view to frame it, if we'll say Barry Nash perhaps picks up an injury, he has to go out to the halfway line. I say him as of course as a corner back.
Yeah.
For example, if Clare had a puck out, obviously teams need to be tactically aware now of how they deal with this, of course, as well. That's up to them to learn how to do. But,
100%.
Barry will have to go 50, 60 metres back to pitch to get into position. Will the referee, how long is he going to give that player to
I
get into position too? That's the tricky part, isn't it?
presume they will use their own discretion, Tom. It's no different to a substitute coming on. That's the way I'll be looking at it. You're not going to leave that happen. And maybe teams will have to have plans in place. If one of our cornerbacks comes in, does your halfback go back to cornerback and your cornerback just slots in into halfback just for that next ball? But the big one, and I know it's mainly hurling today, but the big one is in football, if the goalkeeper goes off. The goalkeepers have no special dispensation in this. They have to also leave the field to play if they are treated or if they take off the helmet in hurling. But if an outfield player goes into goals in football, as you know, after doing the referee's course, you have to wear a distinctive jersey, bib, or top to get the goalkeeping royalties, as we call them, or whatever you want to call it yourself, i.e., picking the ball up off the ground. So a lot of teams now will have to have something distinctive in the goals that if Tom Clancy's in goals and Tom goes off injured and I go in as fullback, as I go into goals, I have to wear that. So if I pick the ball up off the ground, I'm not seeing an outfield player with an outfield jersey deem me a penalty, because any foul in the small square in football is a penalty.
Yes.
Do you know, there is other things to be seen outside of this that I don't know, have teams looked into.
Yeah, even the William O'Donoghue example, I know he probably it's warmed up a bit now, but even it was a small thing, but you know, in fairness to the referee, can't recall who the referee was that day. You know, he has to apply the rule as it's written, really, doesn't he? And you know, it's
Unfortunately, it says if any
yeah.
player takes off his helmet, he has to leave the field and play.
Yeah, so if anyone didn't see that, he took off I think Limerick actually had a free. He took off his Under Armour and then had to leave and basically was out for 30, 40 seconds of play.
Hurling, it may not be an issue because hurling is so quick, but in football,
comes in and out of play regularly. Yeah.
In football, as you know, a team could hold play position for 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
We saw Ross Cameron for 5 minutes last year against Dublin. It was a 5 or 6 minutes to the ball. So
you know, it is a big thing. I think what you'll see if a goalkeeper goes out and if that team has position or has a free, they're going to hit it out straight away to get the keeper back in.
Yeah,
that's what I think you'll see a lot of.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, it's like any new rules. The management teams try to get ahead of the rule and try to learn how to manipulate it, and that's not aiming it at anyone. It's how they all do it, and that's why they're at the top end of the game, really, isn't it? They have to get every inch out of their players. If we could look at some of the I call them new rules, but they're there now. Is it maybe the 5th season now of our 4th season of the black card in hurling? I know it was initially wasn't even the black card, but now of course Johnny Murphy we've seen in the most recent example giving one to a Clare man, and look, hotly disputed. If we take that one in isolation, first of all, personally from my interpretation of it, it looked like a good call by Johnny. Obviously, a lot of people, you know, with maybe Clare tinted glasses on it, didn't agree with it. But you know, careless use of the hurley, I think, was the first thing that was ticked. It was inside the 20-meter line. Now you could probably debate then did it definitely deny a goal scoring opportunity, but as the rule is written, it doesn't. It's not like we'll say football, like a soccer one where it has to be an obvious goal. It just has to be an opportunity, and I think
an opportunity is
Kenny could argue they had that. Yeah,
100%. I suppose on that, there is 3. You mentioned the first one, careless use of the hurley, a deliberate trip or a deliberate pull down. They're the 3 for the thing. It's inside the 21 or the arc, the semicircle, and it has to be 25 meters in from goals. So as a general rule of thumb, it's halfway from the sideline to the goals. It is what we try and use, I suppose. I suppose there was a couple of highly contentious ones before. We'll all remember the Conor McManus one. It was Sean Kavanagh was the one. I think the football one. There's been a couple of hurling ones as well where lads were just hauled down just not to give away the goal. Teams up 2 points. So yeah, they've went with it. It is now a black card, as you said. It's 10 minutes in the bin and it's a penalty. As you said, the most recent one was Johnny's one in the league final. I thought it was a great call. As your man's given the hand pass, the man comes around, it's careless use. He's not using the hurley to play the slitter. He's using it to get your man, give him a little.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to flick, the way or flick or hook or anything like that. It was kind of a slap down, making sure he caught the man almost. And people will probably defend him and say, no, he's trying to play the ball, but you can't swing a hurley like that and be only points for the ball, as you say, without being.
It has to be on the ball, 100%.
Yeah,
like the football ones are in long enough, but again, the football, there is the black card penalty is in football now as well for the same reasons. And as we said, it's the 3 ones is the deliberate pull down, trip with the hand, foot or leg, or the deliberate body collide to take the player out of the second movement and play.
Yeah, and this 25 meters in, I mean, is it asking a lot of referees now, because we could have, of course, contentious ones of the year, but all the other lines on the pitch are defined, and this is one that, as you say, a rule of thumb. It's not great if you're in the real meaty championship game that any official has to decide, that might have been that's only 26 meters or that's 24 or this sort of thing.
Yeah, I suppose we will walk the field. Lads will walk pitches before matches, and generally what they'll discuss with their team, their umpires and their linesmen is, right, that's our points in that goals. That's what we want to take it on, and they'll turn around and they'll go on the other goals and go, there are 2 points there. I know you're on about bringing in more lines. and I think it had been discussed, and that was the reason they said no, is that there's so many lines there already. Will it
Yeah.
confuse people if we start putting more in?
Mm. Yeah, it is a tricky one, but I don't even, I wasn't even getting at the more lines. It's just maybe you're asking, it's putting a lot on the referee to get it right, when at least,
Oh,
as I say,
100%.
if there's a line there, he can say that no, it was inside the line and I know it.
Yeah.
You know,
Like you might deem 25 meters different to me because it's only by eye we're measuring it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, 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 it's a tricky one, all right. Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah.
do you think it's probably not there long and long enough to really to gauge it, but do you think it has been a good addition to the game of hurling?
I think it will cut out a lot of the cynical fouling. I think it has made a difference in football, definitely, in the last couple of years. You don't see it as much. Um, I think it will make a difference because it is 10 minutes in the bin, you're going down to 14 men, and you're giving away a penalty, which means you might have stopped the goal, you think, but you're after giving them a free shot from 21 metres now, one on one with your keeper. Nine
Yeah,
times out of 10, inter-county free takers or penalty takers are going to stick that. So you're after giving away the goal and putting your team down to 14 men anyway.
yeah, yeah. So
So it is
maybe
a big deterrent, I
some,
think,
yeah.
in my view.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I don't think I think Clare will. They mightn't agree with the decision in that incident we're talking about. But if the penalty was scored, it was probably the 1 out of 10 that wasn't scored. But if it was scored,
Yeah,
they're down a man. I think the game is back to a point, and who knows after that they mightn't have collected the league title. So it could have been a fairly costly bit of use of the hurley.
it was,
So
yeah. But what I'd say is Johnny didn't make that player do that. That was that player's own decision. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Players have to
yeah.
take ownership on this as well.
Mm, that's it. Yeah, yeah. It's up to them to really tidy up their defending,
100%.
really, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you mentioned umpires there in terms of maybe agreeing with lines in that incident, but as a general, I know you've a loyal band of club umpires for club games in Limerick who really, go to all corners of the county with you. But
Oh, yeah.
at the intercounty level, the lads, I think Johnny had. We've seen some of the Ballylanders men with him, and the South Limerick lads, as it were, in that incident. But the umpires that go with referees to intercounty games, they have a huge job on Sunday and every Sunday or every Saturday when these championship games are on. I suppose their coordination with the referee is key. The example that I can use to say that the umpires do impact the game is perhaps the Fergal Horgan is one, and he's probably not the only one that he may pull a free early. For example, if Aaron Gillan has been pulled inside by a defender, he might be 70 yards out the field, but he's able to give a free because his umpires are communicating with him on it, and he can maybe look that bit earlier. So the communication between umpires and the referee, and indeed the linesman and the fourth official, it's huge on these big days, especially when you have a sold out Ennis or a sold out Gaelic Grounds or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, communication is massive, Tom, and it's probably one of the last things we'll talk about in any dressing room is that we try and get the calls right. Do you know what I mean? However, now the only thing I will say on that is an umpire can't call a free or they can't
Yes,
call a card. They might be able to
but they
say
can
there's
alert the referee. Yeah,
yes, there's holding inside, have a look in, and you will, and you'll catch it. The most important thing with communication is that they communicate with the players also. They'll also be talking, look, intercounty is probably that little bit different. They'll probably know all of their names. So they'll be able to say, Tom, stop holding. If they say it to you a second time and Tom, you're not listening, they'll go, well, the next time I'm going to call the referee and I'll tell him I'm after warning you. And 9 times out of 10, you'll get a yellow card for your third offence for that because you're not listening. Do you know, they will do that. Communication is massive. If there's a flash point and I go into my umpire, the umpire can't tell me what colour card I give. They give me what happened. I match that up to the rule and I give the relevant card for that infraction then. That's massive. I think there's a massive conception out there that umpires can give cards and they can call frees and they can tell a ref what to do. They can't. They're there to do their job. Their job really is score wide and 65s and 45s in football. That's mainly what they're there for. They don't have the powers to tell me to give a card, what cards to give. As I said there, to just tell me what has happened. I match it to the next that relevant infraction, and I give the card for that infraction.
yeah. So they have a huge role. Or maybe I maybe misinterpreted or maybe overstated their role as well. But nevertheless, very important, and I suppose
Oh,
very
massive.
important that they have a good rapport with the referee, and that he, trust comes into the course as well. maybe that's probably why the GA have been slow to. Maybe some people have called that, maybe at intercounty level they should be using other officials now. Of course, there's so many games on now as well that mightn't be feasible, but maybe that's why, it makes sense that that Johnny will have his four if he gets to referee All Ireland semi-final or Leinster final or whatever it is. That he knows they know how he wants to ref it, and kind of vice versa, that they're able to.
Exactly, and I think that's massive.
Understanding.
That's where the trust is built up, I suppose. I think Sean O'Donoghue from Cork was the latest player to come out and ask for all umpires to be referees. But I suppose you just hit the nail on the head. The boys that work with Johnny and the boys that work with me and the boys that work with any intercounty referee or any referee, they all trust each other, and that's massive. I know that if I'm out the field and if I get a call, Donnacha come into me in the next break and play, that what that umpire is telling me is what he saw. And that's massive. Trust is massive. You build that up with working with people. It would be very tough to get that in with working. I can't see the other referees standing at post. The main reason, as you said, I don't think there's enough bodies there. That's an issue for another day with regards Limerick and all of that. I just don't think numbers are there. Yeah, I don't think those numbers are there to do that. But yeah, no, I think every referee would be happier to have his own lads to try and trust it, I suppose, is the way to put it, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I suppose they're invariably Johnny Murphy's umpires are more experienced than him as an umpire. If you understand my drift, they've done it more often than he has. So if you were to flip it and say, right, Johnny, you're now the umpire in an All-Ireland semi-final, Kenny and Clare or something. Well, he's not used to being an umpire, so even in terms of where to stand for looking at points and all the other bits and pieces, it probably makes more sense that those lads are experienced. I suppose where the big thing people have is like, oh, do these guys receive any training? And as far as
they do.
I was going to say, as far as I've made aware in the last maybe 18 months or so, they're giving feedback in terms of if they're poor positioning for a free 100%.
There's even courses held at that level. Those boys have pulled in. Johnny might be asked to take, or the intercounty senior Crow Park lads will have 4 or 6 umpires. They'll go to umpire training at the start of every year before the league. Johnny's assessed. Those boys are also assessed. They'll be taught your position was poor, good positioning. Should have called this, should have brought this to the referee's attention. So while a referee is being assessed or advised now, as they call it, it's not just a referee, it's his whole team of 8. The 2 linesmen, the 4th official, all is included in that.
Yeah, no, it's probably another misconception maybe out there that the umpires it's almost as if they're picked up at the side of the road on the way to Thurles or wherever it is, but that's clearly not the case, and I think we're trying to maybe stress that here. But the game of hurling and refereeing now, you've been doing it locally for a fair number of years, as your signal drops in and out, but if you can still hear me, Donnacha, you can. I'm just saying you've been doing it locally for a number of years, and the game is fairly hot and heavy these days. So how difficult it is to, and I know you don't want to say poor me or whatever, but how difficult it is to referee hurling. There's hundreds of incidents, even in a 30-second passage play. Did he overcarry it? Did he pick it up off the ground? Did he play the hurley of the opponent? Was his jersey pulled? Was he pushed? In a ruck, there's 7 or 8 lads in a ruck. How are you going to watch what every single one of them is doing? So there's an awful lot to be doing as a referee.
Oh, sure. It's the quickest field sport in the world. But come here, you talk to any referee, it's the best sport to ref. You're out in the middle, the quickness, the speed, everything. And look, it's all about fitness. And look, fitness is massive, but it's about how mentally strong you are and mentally fit you are as well. I hear this of, the referee gave 50 frees. He didn't let the game flow. And it's tough to listen to, because at the end of the day, if there are 50 frees given, there are 50 frees, right? You're not out there to make the game entertaining. And a lot of people won't like me to hear me saying that now before Sunday. But Cullum's job Sunday is to go out and give the frees that he can see. The game of hurling is fast. It's up and down, as you well know, from being on the sideline and from being inside in underage games. You're flat out for that 60 minutes, or Cullum will be for 70 plus minutes, maybe 80 minutes on Sunday. That game is up and down. You just have to give what you see. You will miss things, and look, we're all human. We don't do it on purpose. It might be something that you might get a call in your ear. You're just distracted for that second. A player might run across your eye line. You might just not see it. Nobody doesn't give it because they don't want to give the free. There's reasons why people will miss something. None of it is on purpose, and that's massive. I hear talking about, can you have two referees in hurling? For me, I don't think it can work. I just don't. I think we talk about styles, refereeing styles. You could have two referees with different refereeing styles, and either half and both halves could be ref differently
Yes.
of the pitch. No, I think hurling is in a good place, to be honest. I think it is. It's a good, fast, free-flowing game, and I hope it's going to be left that way. I know the new rules that have brought in, I think it's to aid that, is to try and, because even I was doing fourth official for an under-20 game in Dungarvan a couple of weeks ago, Cork and Waterford, and there was players are getting strong tackles, they were going down. But the first thing they were saying to Conor Doyle is, I don't need the physio in. So the players want to get on with the game now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They want to keep it going. They know that if they have to go, if they come in and get treatment, they're going. So that rule is fine. I think all the rules they're trying to keep the game free flowing, which I think is going to benefit as a spectacle, yes. But if the frees are frees, they have to be given, and I think that's the only way you can go out and referee it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think with the frees as well, and you and I would have. I think I was sitting near you in Turtles last year, and the guy to your right might have been from Tipperary or Watford, whichever game it was, and he thinks it's a free. You maybe not you now, but a Limerick guy near you doesn't, and it's everyone's interpretation is different. Obviously, not everyone knows the rules as well as the referee, which is I think that's obvious in nearly every sport that people do know the rules quite well, but maybe the referee, he passes a test every year. He's refereeing hundreds of games every year, so he's more familiar with why he's given the free. He understands the intricacies of certain rules and maybe of certain incidents and what has gone on there,
And I suppose 100%, Tom, but I suppose that referee is a split second to make that call. What really irks me is you watch the Sunday game on Sunday evening after the matches, and they're on about this and they're on about that, and a call that was made here and a call that was made there, and you see him slowing down the call. That's not real time. And they're watching it 2 or 3 times and they're talking about it. We get one look at it. If they're looking at it a second or third time, for me, the referee is right. They don't need to. I mean, we get one shot at it. Do you know what I mean? We don't get action replay. We're not like another strong love of yours of soccer. We don't. VAR isn't there. We don't have replays. We get one shot. We get one call. 99% of the times we're right. I know personally, if I'm wrong, if I get it wrong, you put your hands up. You won't know it till after, but you'll put your hands up.
Yeah. I mean, even not to be bringing Johnny up every 5 seconds, but it's the most recent examples we have. That shoulder incident just before half time in the league final. I mean, I must have watched it 25 times, I'd say, and I still couldn't decide if I was the referee what I had done. But as you say, Johnny has one look now. He consulted with his linesman, which is probably good officiating between them, but they didn't see it twice. They just both saw it once from a different angle, and
2 different angles, which is the thing. Then
that's it. But they both had their own perspective on it. They discussed it, and he just deemed it a yellow card. And look, it would have been very hard if he gave a red card to argue against it. As I said, he said one look at it. He did. I've watched it so many times, and you're still still trying to find a correct what you deem to be the correct answer. But Johnny got the correct answer. He saw it as he saw it, and that was it. He didn't make it up on the spot,
No, 100%, as you said. Himself and Shane Hines from Galway had a chat about it. They came to their conclusion, and they've been brought it was right on the day, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's probably all the referee chat we can have. And as I said to you there, I saw you in Turles last year. There were some great seats, whatever connections you have for tickets. But you're obviously like the rest of us around the county. You're obviously fanatical in terms of supporting this team, and it's been a great journey. Obviously, your own clubman Seamus Flanagan has been front and center as well for the last 6 or 7 seasons. And do you see this coming to an end anytime soon, or is the drive for 5 very much alive, or how do you look at it coming into Sunday and beyond?
I suppose I was behind enemy lines last night. I was in Quilty. They're fairly confident below there. I suppose it's their first bit of silverware in a while too. I actually going to go and say I think the pressure's on Clare below on Sunday. I think Limerick they're going to go for it. Talk of who's going to play where, we won't know until the teams are out. Will Tony Kelly play? Do you know, will Clare go as strong as they can? Will Limerick go up? I just think it's got to be a massive battle. It always has been for the last 3 years. People talk about Innis as a small field. I've been around it. It's not a small field. It's the same size as any other pitch and a bit bigger. Yes, the encroachment is that bit smaller. It's a tighter. You're in on top of the action. I think it'll make for a raucous atmosphere below on Sunday, 2:00. Come throw in, I'd say the roar that'll go in, it'll be like Cheltenham in the first race of the Grand National when they're
Yes.
when they're taking off. I think Limerick, having been beaten in the semi-final, I think they have a good block of a month underneath them, a good block of work. Your Sean Finns, your Declan Hannons, your Kyle Hayes, all these lads will have a good block of a month of work done. To me, I think Limerick will sneak it by 2 points.
Right.
I'm going to go
Which would be a
Limerick by
huge
2.
win. Yeah, it was
Oh,
a
massive.
huge win in terms of it's been a point in every of the last each and every one of the last whatever 4 or 5 games. So,
And I just think this Munster Championship is going to be epic again. There's going to be teams that take points off each other. It'll go down to the last day again, like it has done in the last couple of years, and it could be a point here or a point there. But yeah, I really have the opinion if Limerick get back out of Munster again, that once they get to Croke Park, it's like being at home.
yeah.
If they get out of Munster, I think they'll be well confident for the 5 in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, but being on the journey in terms of as a supporter and you know an onlooker like myself and like so many others, it's just we're still pinching ourselves. I think, aren't we? We're
100%. If somebody told you back in 2018 that they'd be going for 6 and 7, you'd be going, not a hope.
yeah.
Unfortunately, my other love of sport is Liverpool, and myself and my young lad were over last Thursday night to see him be beaten by Atlanta. And I just turned around to him and I said, look, you're not. Someday you're going to see Limerick be beat as well, so leave this be good practice for you. Hopefully not this year, in a couple of years' time.
Yeah. Well, he's not used to seeing the losses that we probably endured for a decade or two or more even. Yeah. So hopefully he won't see him lose in 2024, but we shall see what way that comes. Donnacha, thanks for your time. I think I said we take it 10 or 15 minutes, but we've nearly gone double that. So that'll tell you. Hopefully there's a few nuggets in there for everyone ahead of Sunday in terms of the rules and different bits and pieces.
And just before we go, Tom, as well, just in the terms of Limerick, we have offered as an association that we will go out to clubs as well if they want to do rules talks with coaches and managers and teams and stuff. So I suppose I want to just get that out there today, that any club that have any interest in that can come through us in the Referees Association, through myself or Brendan Stack, or contact Patsy Coffey as the coordinator, and we're happy to facilitate that we'll go around and do a roadshow with clubs and stuff.
Perfect.